Dear ones, I am Archangel Michael. Well, this week, I started with a position, I commented on forgiveness and asking for forgiveness. So today, I'm going to talk to you about your surroundings. I believe it will be of great help to many. Before starting the subject, I have to go back a little. How are families formed? Not physically. How are families formed in relation to souls? I have already said here that some souls are repeated over time, within that entire universe of souls, which were once part of your family. Normally when this happens, they are souls who come to help, never to exact any type of karma. Souls that persecute other souls, that's another matter, it doesn't fit into this one. So how are the souls chosen to incarnate in a particular family? I already said here, the greatest objective of a soul is to always evolve. So if the same soul were always reincarnated in the same family nucleus, there would be very little evolution, because it would be the same country, the same city, it could even be in another place, but the tendency is to remain in the same physical environment and not learn anything new, because all those who return together would repeat the same mistakes. There would be no growth. So, when a soul is going to incarnate, she looks for other countries, other cities, other family groups, so that she can have new experiences. For example, if the statement that everyone returns to fulfill previous karma were true, why did your father and mother only have one child, and you had 4? Who are the other 3? He understands? This type of statement is very complicated. Then the soul chooses where it wants to be born. For example, she feels like learning a different language, so she will incarnate in the country of that language, so that she can learn it. I've already said this here, but I'll remind you, the ability you have to speak several languages is the movement of your soul across the planet. Some study, and fail, because the soul doesn't know anything about that. Others find it easier, because they have already gone through all these languages. And then it becomes easier to learn. So the objective of the soul when it incarnates is to define the family that will make it grow and evolve. So she decides location, date, everything she can choose. And then the universe conspires, to find a suitable family, who can teach her the lessons she needs to learn, and some lessons she can also teach that family. And then, she incarnates within that family. This is one point. Second important point. Each soul, now I'm going to say it the other way around, I'm going to measure it from the last stage that the soul is in, from the highest point that that soul is. A third soul, which has never evolved into higher dimensions, has a certain frequency. In this case, an essentially third frequency. I'm not talking about the body here, I'm talking about the soul. More evolved souls that have fractals in higher dimensions do not have the same frequency as the Tercera soul, even if they have a fractal here in Tercera, they are an evolved soul. I already told you, the soul is one. Each piece that it unfolds feeds the soul as a whole, so it evolves. So a soul, which has already managed to reach the 8th dimension, for example, has an 8th dimensional frequency. The soul, I'm not talking about a fractal here, I'm talking about the soul. Very good. So if it is a soul from Tercera, incarnating in an essentially Tercera family, there those souls will learn the lessons they have to learn among themselves. There is no imbalance of the soul. They all have the same level, which is the 3rd dimension. I'm not saying here that everyone is on the same level. Remember, within each dimension, there are levels. So a soul, already at the last level of the 3rd dimension, can incarnate in a family that is at the 1st level. And certainly, the big idea is to make that family rise, evolve. Very good. Now, let's take the example of evolved souls, who incarnate in families, whose highest frequency is the 3rd. What happens? Firstly, some souls in Tercera love this, they are those souls eager for knowledge, for growth. So when they approach a more evolved soul, they like what they feel, because that evolved soul, despite having a fractal in 3rd, is very wise. You don't realize this, but often, that soul takes certain postures, which makes those around it, and who are extremely eager for knowledge, like what they are seeing, what they are hearing, and begin a journey of evolution as well. This is how souls evolve. I already said it here too. There is always another soul, who helps them to pass the level. So this is a point where souls get along very well, and human consciences, consequently, too. There is an integration between those two beings, those two people, impressive. This is what can happen to that great friend, who has such a special place in his heart, sometimes bigger than his own family. It's because that soul is trying to tell you a lot, and you are enjoying learning. It could be an evolved soul, like a third soul, that is at a higher level. This is one point. The other point, they are those souls that don't want to walk, like what they do, are afraid of everything, don't want to evolve. Leave me here in my corner, everything is fine. I already know everything here. I don't like surprises, I don't like challenges. I want to stay here in my corner. And then that soul arrives, extremely evolved in that family heart, and begins with its own light as well, causing the evolution of those around it. Yes, the very frequency of that soul tends to balance the others, to make others evolve. But that soul is so fearful, so trapped in that point that she doesn't like it, she wants her will to be respected, she doesn't want to evolve. And then, friction begins to occur in the personal lives of these two souls. The two incarnated people begin to not understand each other. And that explains the disagreement that many of you have with your father, with your mother, with your siblings. Because it is your family heart, you chose that family, to help you evolve, but some souls there don't want to. They want to stay where they are. And you are pulling it, because your light pulls the evolution of the soul. Its frequency, being higher, pulls the frequency of that soul. But she doesn't want to. So she doesn't understand, because she doesn't understand you. It's because she's angry, she doesn't want to leave the place and you insist, so the relationship becomes quite difficult. This happens with evolved souls, and with higher level third souls too. You try to teach some things, introduce some things, make that person evolve, within their own time, but they don't accept it, they react, because they are eternal, poor thing. It's that poor soul, who never knows anything, who is always out of the loop. And then you insist that she evolve, but she doesn't want to. But she likes to complain, to say that she is the poor thing. So that's it, my brothers. This is what happens, with the energetic difference of souls. Souls of the same frequency understand each other perfectly. And then I'll give you, as an example, this large group we have here. Do we have souls from Tercera? We have. But Tercera's souls are quite evolved, who are ready, have 1 foot to go to the 5th dimension. And they never resonated with anything above here, but they are liking what they are seeing, what they are learning, and they are predisposing themselves to evolve. But the vast majority of this group here are evolved souls. Then you attract each other, due to your own energetic frequency. This energetic frequency, this frequency difference, can be taken to many points in your life. At work, that colleague who picks on you and you don't like him either, his presence bothers him, so he reacts. There are already those who like to stay close, because somehow they realize that you exude something good, and they like to stay close, like flies, on the lamp post. It is exactly your light, your very high frequency, that makes these people come closer and like you, because they feel good around you, because your light is pushing them towards evolution. But there are those that don't. So those are the ones you have problems with. It's that boss who doesn't pick on anyone but you. He's that friend that you like each other, but can't understand each other. He is a family member, who also fights with you, because they do not accept the light that you emit. It's my brothers, you, as human consciences, don't understand this. They don't understand why you get along with so many people, but there are those who don't seem to like you. That's why, because your light bothers them. And they don't want to leave the place. They are poor things, and they want to stay in the place of poor things, all their lives. So they fight against it. So they fight against you, because you are the representation of evolution for them. Back to talking about families. I have already taught here for all of you, to place your family members in bubbles of light, every day. What is the real purpose of this? Let's say it's not you, who will be consciously emanating light to her, you are surrounding her in a layer of light, for your love, for your affection, for your desire, for that soul to evolve. Are you breaking her free will? No, it's not. You are sending light, and that soul will absorb that light if it wants to. It's like, let's imagine, that you can stay underwater. It's an example, you survive, deep underwater. So when you involve, those bubble of light people, it's as if that light was water. And then, whoever is inside will drink this water or not. He can keep his mouth closed, and not absorb that water, or he can drink that water and evolve step by step, because his light is doing that to him. So realize that you are doing good for your friends, your family, your pets. You can send light to whoever you want, even your enemies. Do it. Remember that request for forgiveness? You asked for forgiveness. And you will now place the one you asked for forgiveness in your bubble of light, that is, you are giving them a gift. And those you have forgiven, likewise, place them in the bubble of light. There, the feeling you used to ask for and give forgiveness will be tested. Then place those, who before your request, were your enemies in some way, within your bubbles of light. This is called unconditional love, because you are making them evolve. So, do it. So, placing everyone around you in the balls of light is allowing them the chance to want to swallow that light. And little by little, they evolve. Because light evolves, because it is a frequency. So, little by little, they evolve. Of course, this light has a factor that will maintain it or not. Let's say that soul absorbed all the light you sent. Then the next day, she doesn't keep that light, because she judges, condemns, complains, thinks negative things, is a low vibration person, so that light will be consumed quickly. It's as if it were a big glass, and at night you fill that glass with light. I already said this here, to you, and that during the day, she says so many bad things, so many bad feelings, that light is consumed. And then everything you sent went away. As for the other people, whom you send light to and have a reasonable walk, they are not people who normally complain about everything, they are good-hearted people, they are people who live a normal life. What happens with so much light? Because they don't consume that light completely, the cup is still full when you release more light the next day.